Good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to our next session of Wisdom Café. And today we have Professor Sandip Mukhopadhyay with us. He is an associate professor at the Institute of Management Technology, Ghaziabad, India. His research interests, they include digital platforms and ecosystems, application of analytics in marketing and sales, and marketing of technology. He has received his FPM from MDI Gurgaon, and he is specializing in business model for digital platforms. Prior to that, he received his PGDM, his MBA from IIM Calcutta, and studied engineering at IIEST Calcutta, India. Before academics, he has worked with IBM, Ericsson, Reliance, and Siemens for about 20 years, focusing on selling and deploying technology solutions. He has published widely in different international journals and authored multiple case studies. He also has recently co-authored a book, Selling IT, The Science of Buying, Selling, and Deal Making. And interestingly, his topic for today is also dealing with the platforms. So as you can see, what he'll be sharing with us is insights on, on his research in the emergence and evolution of a disruptive platform ecosystem and evidences from the Indian mobile services industry. Welcome to you, Professor Sandip. And you'll get around 1 hour, 15 minutes to share your insights with the audience. And then we'll have a quick round of, questions that the audience might like to ask you all. Over to you, Professor Sandip.
Okay, thank you, Professor Dasgupta. So I am very happy to speak here in MDI because I did my APM or EAPM from MDI, and I got the degree only on 2016. And Professor Dasgupta was a part of my thesis advisory committee along with Professor Jaiswal and also Professor Harry Bauman from Delft University. And my office was just opposite to the MDI, IBM office in near the Star Mall, which I think nowadays IBM has vacated. So I used to come to MDI quite frequently. So it's great for me to come back to IBM, MDI to give this, share my research. So first, I want to thank all the faculties, scholars, and others who have joined this discussion. And I hopefully it will be interesting because it is from a local phenomena that has happened in India. And we're trying to create theory out of something that has happened around us. So one of the criticism is that there is not much research that happens in India, which basically try to develop theory out of the local, whatever things happen in the local areas. Primarily, the theories are developed or Europe or US, and we just try to follow them or use them in our quantitative research to validate that. Ma'am, just to check, is my voice audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, okay. So the topic is emergence and evolution of a disruptive platform ecosystem. And this is published in Electronic Market, which is a ABDCA journal. And so I think many of us know a lot about platform, but I will just talk about a few things before we go into the actual research. So how do we define platform? So platform is basically like I was talking with Professor Dasgupta, it was a big topic in strategy and IT and also in economics. So if you see the IT people say that it's a software-based system where you have a core module which provide the core functionality, and then you have add-on module which basically work with the core module using API. And So the core module would be provided by the platform leader, and the add-on modules would be provided by the developers or independent players. So we can see that Apple platform, where the Apple provides the iOS or the main things, and their marketplace, but all the apps are developed by independent developers, and they work perfectly together. And what is ecosystem in this case? So there is this informal organizations. So you have the platform leader and also a large number of developer and others. Some of them are large organization also, and some of them are individual developers, some are mid-sized company. But the thing is, they are all informal relationships. So there is no contractual relationship, there is no hierarchical relationship. So, and but all of them has a shared vision on the prosperity of the platform. So that was the ecosystem. So as we just mentioned that the core functionality generally provided by the platform leader, and that's why it invests there actually. And then it has to attract enough platform complementer who will be large in numbers, like Apple might have thousands of developers, and they bring the innovation. So that's the beauty of platform, that you do not need to spend or design for every innovation. Innovation comes from so many different players actually, and the players are only able to get their, you can say that revenue share when their innovations are bought by the consumers. So this also reduce the investment requirement from the platform leader. And we already know there is a concept called disruptive innovation in strategy, like Christensen of Harvard University first introduced this concept. So this basically says that there are technology which initially start as inferior technology and some segment which the mainstream player may not find attractive, but over a period of time they become very powerful and basically displace the leading provider. Like in my FPM days, we read that book, I think Innovator's Dilemma or something. So which basically talks about like 3 generations of disc manufacturer in US and how the new player completely displaced the older player. So that was a disruptive innovation. So initially it started that disruptive innovation is primarily about technology, but later Christensen and others also told that it can be business model also, like a platform ecosystem is a business model as well. So it does not need to be technology. And also it does not need to always start with, you can say that inferior technology. It can start with a good enough technology also, and it can displace this. So there is a new stream of literature that is called disruptive platform. So platform which basically disruptive the existing industry, and the existing player has to basically respond in a non-trivial manner for their survival and others. So while I was trying to write this Jio, because I've worked long time in telecom industry, and even I have worked in the Jio project before joining academia. So I was trying to find how to conceptualize this big incident, that a player came from nowhere and enter industry was basically impacted. So like we had all the players has to close, the Tata Teleservice, Aircel and others. And Jio, who was nowhere, it become a market leader, and people are using mobile phone for making calls. Now they primarily use mobile for entertainment or watching movies and all those things. Then we came across this disruptive platform. It's a recent concept because platforms allow you to scale up very quickly, and also you can have lots of innovation from your complementer. So a disruptive platform can cause much more disruption compared to a non-platform disruptor. So there are recent, all the papers are recent, like 2016, 18, 21, the disruptive platform. So we use the lens of disruptive platform to view these phenomena. And what are the research gap we found? That primarily establishing a new platform is very difficult. because there are multiple articles they talks that the platform which has basically established before, like earlier, so they had much more advantage. So there is a very big early entry advantage. Like if we see that Zomato and Swiggy, so they have established themselves in India. So they are nothing but a mobile app or something. But we can say that if they are only mobile app, what is difficult to dislodge them? But we can, nobody. It is very difficult to dislodge them because they have accumulated a big network of like restaurant owners and the customers and their delivery partners, and also they have data about all consumer behavior, all their partner behavior. They know exactly which food is sold at what price, at what location. So a new platform will find very difficult to basically work against this network, you can say, effect. And the platform becomes more become bigger and bigger, and it works for longer time. The data it accumulates is also become much larger, so it become much more difficult to dislodge a basically existing player. So that's why we call there's a high entry barrier in any platform industry. Like we can see that Amazon and Flipkart, it's very difficult to dislodge them, and over a period of time they will become bigger and bigger. And because they have already data of 10 years, 20 years, and a new player would be completely handicapped. They would not have the data, they would not have the network partners and all those things. So that was another things. And then what are the other problem? Because if we want to establish a platform, we need to have complementers, like who basically do most of the thing, while the network platform leader only does the core part. But a new platform would not have any user base, so complementer would not find it interesting to join. So why should a complementer, like a developer, or in case of Zomato, or the restaurant owner, would join a new platform which does not have much user? So, and the users would also not come because there are not many complementer who provide services. So that like a chicken and egg problem, which is very difficult to break. Then third one is the winner takes it all, means platforms generally tends to become larger and larger. And any platform industry, we always see generally 2 or 3 players, that it does not allow to many players to coexist. Like if we see that our e-commerce, it's Flipkart and Amazon. If we see the transport, it's Ola and Uber. The food retailing, Zomato and others. So generally, either you become very successful, or you have to you get acquired, or you generally close your shop. So that was the platform business. And as a result, there is a higher rate of failures. And also, in case a new platform try to enter, particularly in the network industry like telecom, the other people can have a hostile behavior, the incumbents. So that was like key challenge. How can we establish a new platform with all those problems? And also we found that what are the role of complementer? Are they only for bringing new service or new innovations, or do they do something else? So in case of Reliance Jio, we talk about them, we found something different. So that was another area. And on top of them, there is a concept called disruptor dilemma. That is basically like introduced in 2016. It talks that if we see like in the context of platform, when a disruptive platform enters, so platform need to have lots of complementer. But the existing complementer would not like to collaborate with the disruptive platform because they know that this platform is coming to disrupt my existing business. So why should I collaborate with it? Second one is that many times these new platforms come to is the next generation of technology. Like in case of Jio, it was 4G when we had basically 2G or 2.5G. So it needs lots of investment for the complementer, and many complementer do not want to do that. So also the existing customers are not ready to move to a new platform which provides a new but untested technology. So this is called disruptor dilemma. So because you are disrupting, other people are reluctant to collaborate with you, particularly the complementer and also the customers. And how do you break that? So with all those research gap, we found our research objective was how do manager of disruptive platform basically uh, emerge and establish themselves where it is dominated by incumbent. So what are the things they can do to address these challenges? And in this process, how they basically impact the existing ecosystem. So that was the two research questions, both are related. So because we saw that Jio came and they are a disruptive platform and they are able to establish themselves, and in the process they impact the entire industry ecosystem. So what are those? What are something um, which basically we can create theory out of it and which does not comes all the time, something more than what we read in the newspaper and other places. So that was the objective. And we did like a single in-depth case study because there are not many scenarios like Jio that we can have a multiple case study and other things. And it was a unique case, we can say. And also it was a like a because the single case we had a new entrant in the large market who was very successful, so allowed us to basically explore a significant phenomena under rare or extreme circumstances. So that's why this was suitable for a single case study. And other than that, obviously for analysis, we do thematic data analysis. And we use a method called Joya method, which is very much used in qualitative research. We use qualitative research many times. People are quite scared that how the researcher has come to conclusion. And many times it got rejected in many journals because it is not as structured or as codified as quantitative research. That's why Joya, I think he's pronounced as Joya, he's from HROB area. So he basically developed this method and which was published in Organized Research Method. And it gives a stepwise method so that brings some amount of more rigor in the data analysis process. And the data source primarily was all secondary data, like we had lots of media data, business press, economics times, Mint, and all those things, Times of India. Then also this was heavily covered on Financial Times, Wall Street Journal. We have many database also like CRISIL, Frost and Sullivan, and all ET Intelligence. And another good source of data was TRAI, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India website. So they basically give month-wise, year-wise, ARPU, unit cost of data, market share, and everything. So that was a good source of data. Other than that, we also had, I think, 4 interviews. So interviews are primarily to validate our finding. So the secondary data was the key source, like 276 data source. And it was with a small set of interviews, depth interview with senior executive of Jio and one of the senior executive of a management consulting firms who is involved in the telecom. And before going further, some of the Jio's background, so that we know that the impressive part of it. 2016, they launched their 4G smartphone under a live brand name. 2016 September, I think they launched the free trial of Jio content and mobile. Before that, I think content and was not so popular in Indian mobile services. Primarily, people used to mobile for making calls or SMS and all those things. And very limited amount of like content business was there, like caller ringback tone and all those things. And when they launched in 2016 September, by 2017 February, they had basically almost 100 million customers. So this was one of the fastest, you can say that customer acquisition. So in a few months, they had 100 million customers. And it is not only they got the customer, it basically changed the Indian telecom landscape. So India data usage changes to 1.3 billion GB from 200 million GB. So huge amount of data people started consuming. Before, data was primarily a premium service, like only very few people used to use mobile data. It's primarily land. If you want to use watch movie or something, you generally go to office and use the landline, landline based internet there. And you saw the repercussion also, like Airtel acquired Telenor, Vodafone and Idea to big player. They merged and they created the India's largest mobile service provider in 2018, though they do not remain large for very long. Then in content, Jio acquired the music platform Saban, and they had a partnership with SPI. Bharti Airtel acquired Tata Teleservice. And 2019, a Jio Platform was created where Facebook and Google, they bought stake actually. And this is the one of the rare case where on a single company, Facebook and Google, who are basically competitor, has bought stakes. And also in 2020 January, Jio basically displaces Vodafone to become the largest Indian mobile service provider with 32% market share. So we can see in a very short span of time, where the service was launched as a trial service in September 2016, and 2020 it became the market leader in a country as big as India. And in the process, it impacted the market, consumer behavior, the competitors, and all those things. So this makes sense to call Jio as a successful disruptor. And also going on that, so if we see 2016, we had almost 10 mobile provider, like for each state or each circle, whatever it is called. We have Airtel, Vodafone, Idea, Reliance Communication, and all those things, MTS. And 2020, if we go back to 2020, only we have 3 private players and a very small market share of the government, BSNL, MTNL. So we can see that the impact of disruption on the market from 10 player, which was like people used to criticize that Indian market, mobile market has more player that it can accommodate. It basically, you can say that downsize it. So now it become only 3 player, major player in each area. Even one of them, like Vodafone Idea, is still struggling. So it's almost moving towards duopoly type of things. And what was the user behavior? How does it change? So if we see the before Jio, that data uses was much less. Total data usage is like 828 millions of GB, and it went up to 46,404. It's almost to so many times in a like a few years. It went this average wireless data users per active user. It was 0.26 GB. It went up to 7.6 GB per user. And tariff, on the other hand, data was a premium, we told that it was $3.84 per GB, which reduced to $0.17 per GB. So it put itself in a leadership position and impacted the market, impacted the consumer behavior, and impacted the profitability of the other players also, because data was a source of profit for most of the other players. And also because they make the voice so inexpensive, so that impacted the smaller player, and many of them has to merge with bigger player like Airtel or Vodafone, or they have to close their shop. And like a survey in 2018, the Bank of America, they found that the half of Jio customers use mobile broadband primarily to watch television and movies. So the putting this is that consumer behavior is changed. The people are using mobile phone and data for entertainment or enjoyment or commerce and other things, not necessary just to make calls or receive calls. So we just mentioned that we use the Joya method of qualitative data analysis. Basically it talks that we start with first order concept, which are very grounded in the data. It's like similar to maybe open coding and grounded theory. So Joya method is based on the grounded theory framework only, but it provides a step-by-step methodology. And second order themes are more theoretical insight, which gives an aggregate dimension is basically even one level higher. So it generally, that is the method. It has this 3 level of abstraction, and the entire thing is called data structure. So this was the data structure. And we basically found 2 aggregate dimensions, that the disruptive platform, the Jio, what are the struggle of it, what it did, and how does it impact the other player in the ecosystems. And the first level concepts are directly taken from the actual data, in this case primarily secondary data and little bit of primary interview. So basically maybe I can take a pause if there is anything other, then I will go to the next, because is there anything, any query or something? Or any part I need to tell little bit more or something?
I think so, Professor Sandip, questions can be taken in the end.
Okay. So a little bit of, if we see that first order construct, so these are primarily like what we get from the exact data, like their networks are technologically superior, and how they do basically acquire long duration of the free trial they had then aggressive pricing and all those things. So I'm not going too much details on it, and I will discuss more on the core finding actually, and then we'll discuss if any queries are there. So one of the key things that we found in this is that when Jio came, there was huge, basically what you can say, that opposition from the incumbent. Like you see that the major players were Vodafone, Idea, and Airtel, and a large number of smaller players. So these people, every time you used to read newspaper that Jio is going to destruct the telecom market, and they will going to destruct the so many jobs will be lost. Government would not get any revenues. Smallest player will go out of business. Banks would not go and get money. And another thing is all these players are very well connected because they are in the telecom business for long, and regulators, they are well connected with regulator. And in a business like telecom, which is regulated, mobile telecom regulated, so the support of the regulator is very important. So in many cases, the regulator tend to support the incumbent, because this incumbent provides a huge number of revenue, huge amount of revenue. They also consider as national asset, like telecom infrastructure is very important for the country. So all those things. And as a result, Jio was a position of disadvantage because they are portrayed as somebody who are basically trying to disrupt the industry and will cause a big damage to Indian economy and others, and also the um, consumers also, because if the players go out of business, the consumer's choice will be impacted. So what Jio did that, so there are lots of literature we found in the strategy that is called framing contest. Framing contest means when a new player comes, it is quite natural that other player try to portray that player as aggressive, as somebody who's damaging the industry and who is unethical. And on the other hand, the new entrant try to highlight its positive things, like it's a new technology oriented, it's going to create job, it will allow the country to leapfrog from old technology to new technology. So and multiple, particularly this is very frequent if we have regulated industries, because regulated decision makes lots of impact on this industry. So we saw that Jio was able to do this framing quite effectively. Yes. Yeah, because the purpose of this framing is to influence the regulator so that the decisions like either become neutral, or at least if possible, it should be supportive of their stance. Because in this type of industry, the regulator decision create lots of issues, and regulator tend to take decisions which they seems will increase societal benefit. So that was the frame generally regulators follow. So these two types of players, the new entrant and the incumbents, basically create frames around that, the public interest. And because it's logical that um, incumbents are long time in the industry, and they have a well connection with the regulator and other key players in the ecosystem, so they have some initial advantage. So we saw this, that was the how they started that framing contest. So first framing contest, like Jio say that they have a superior and advanced technology, which user can allow at lower cost, higher speed. They will empower the rural India. They will basically contribute to nation building by digital India, make my India, make in India. And they are committing a huge investment like 35 billion. And what the competitors incumbent told that the objective of Jio's free trial and low price is to drive you the competition, which can lead to a monopoly in the medium term. So due to Jio action, network operator cannot fulfill their commitment to the lenders and the vendors. So the bank's money would be bad, loans will be bad, and the vendors would not get money also, like Ericsson or IBM and others. And there will be significant job loss in the industry, because if this company closes, then the jobs will be lost. And the total revenue would be of the sector would decrease, and government get a percentage of the total revenue. So government also lose tax and other revenue. And investor will be scared, because if so many companies closes, and then there will be very little investment in the future technology. So that framing contest was going on between these two. And how does Jio manage to get upper hand is this? Because this incumbent already had many advantages. So we saw that Jio followed a two-step framing process. So at the early stage, they created a group of stakeholders who benefit from the disruptive technology. And this, how they did it by giving a very long free trial. We remember that almost 6 months free trial was given. So, okay, one thing is they acquire some customer, but at the same time, a large set of people, or you can say that a large set of stakeholders are created who got used to with this type of services. So they become like a silent cheerleader of Jio and all those things. So whenever this regulator and other people take some decision, they need to know that the customers are liking this service and there is no going back. So once this significant user base was created, like 100 million or something, so who preferred Jio more advanced service and lower cost, Jio could then effectively lobby with the regulator or other stakeholder to basically relate this narrative. So that was like one of the strategies. So the research was primarily how Jio as a disruptive platform player, how did it establish itself? And we saw the challenges like hostile incumbent, and then it's a large entry barrier and all those things. because in telecom industry, incumbents are very important. So like if they do not allow you to connect to their network, so the customers of Jio would not be able to talk to their customers. So all those things how Jio managed. So first thing we saw that effective framing, and which was achieved by creating a two-step framing process. And the first step, they created the stakeholders. Like so we thought that the free trial is primarily to test the technology and all those things. Obviously, those things are there, but by doing so, they also created a large set of people who get benefit from those things, and they like those experience. And those people do not want to go back to earlier model of telecom where you just use telephone to make a call. So that's basically helped Jio to propagate its narrative. So that was the first. Second thing, we also see that one of the very difficult thing for platform player, new platform player, is how to attract the complementer. Because in case of Jio, the main complementer was like 4G smartphone provider. Because when Jio came 2016, there are 100 million smartphone in India. Only I think 240 million was sorry, 100 million, 1 billion connection was there. Only 240 million was smartphone. So very limited smartphone was there. Even those smartphones are 2G or 2.5G, which was not working with Jio's 4G technology. So, but Jio cannot launch a service without having enough smartphone at a very reasonable price, because no consumer is going to spend a large sum of money to buy a new devices. And also they should have many options. If Jio only sell the smartphone, that is may not be attractive to them. They need that the Samsung or Apple, the big players should have their brand in that. So existing literature say that how do you attract the complementer? They say that you basically can show them that you are going to have large user base. So come now, so you signal to them. You sometimes give some incentive, or you create some marketing campaign that you will going to be leader and all those things. Or extreme case, you become yourself the complementer, like you manufacture or develop that product which the complementer is supposed to do. So in case of Jio, we found another interesting thing, the purpose of the research was developing new theory. That's why we looked from a different angle. We found that Jio, because Jio wanted to do a 4G smartphone, and this people are not interested, the existing players, because they thought 4G smartphone is market size will be very less and not many people will be interested to buy. So Jio started basically manufacturing their own smartphone, though they do not have much experience on that. And they are able to sold a large number of smartphone, 4G smartphone. And this basically removed the customer apprehension over the new, like how the 4G smartphone will work. And also this helped the complementer like Samsung and others, all these players who develop the smartphone, that there is really large market, and if we go there, so there is a good chance that it will be successful. So what we call that, this is a market development strategy. So this was not highlighted in literature because Jio did not manufacture the smartphone to become a large smartphone manufacturer. So they manufacture their smartphone to basically attract the existing players and show them that it is not risky. So when you see that when this player came and started manufacturing the smartphone, Jio basically moved out of the smartphone manufacturer. So we call this is a very effective basically strategy where you develop the market and show the attractiveness of the market to the complementer, so the complementer can join. And when the complementer join, you can move out of that market. What Jio did. So then, like one of the quote is saying that from the beginning, this was a Jio senior manager, that Jio wanted to provide data and content driven services. So it opted for 4G technology. But at that time, there's no 4G ecosystem in India. So we had to launch our own devices. We seeded the market and other vendors saw the potential and they came. So that was also a new way of attracting complementer, which was not in the literature. And then what role the complementer plays actually. So that was also because general literature says that complementers are primarily used for either to develop innovation or to market innovation. The primary role of complementer to bring innovation in a platform like Apple's all app developer, they bring lots of innovation actually. But in this case, what we have seen, in Jio's case, they had a large number of what we can say large complementer, large partner like Qualcomm, Google, Facebook, SBI. So this Jio never basically developed any product with this player. So as long as we did the analysis, Jio and Google did not develop any product. So now they are doing some smartphone, cheap smartphone. They did not develop much product with Facebook. They neither develop anything with Qualcomm or SBI also they did not develop. So why did they go ahead with this partnership? So what was the purpose of this partnership? So that we try to find. If innovation is not the key purpose, generally literature says that we go to the complementer primarily to get innovation at low cost, quickly and all those things. But in this case, that was not the thing. So why did they go? So then we found there is a concept called force multiplier. So force multiplier are basically the actors and user in the ecosystem, basically who reinforce the position of the platform leader in the market player. So when Jio made an alliance with Facebook and Google, so it created a certain type of network effect, which is not by number of users or number of application and others, but the prestige and you can say that legitimacy it brings to Jio. So it's from that angle, like aligning, because Jio was a new player and it did not have a technology background or consumer background, but by basically aligning with this large player who are highly respected, Google, Facebook, SBI, Qualcomm, it is able to bring a sense of aura, a sense of legitimacy, a sense of pride to it, which basically allow it to attract more customers and more complementer, and which also sends a signal to its competitors that we are heavily backed by big names. So do not try to mess with us. So that was called complementer as force multiplier. So these three, we found that quite interesting, which are generally not basically talk so much in the platform literature, because whenever we do a case study, so many will say that, okay, the case study is interesting, but what is new in it? So what is the theoretical contribution? And that took a very long time for us. Then we mixing literature from different areas and looking deep into the phenomena that why, what is Google, Jio is doing with Google, what it's doing with Facebook. So we try to find, yes, that seems to be a logical answer. And why did they manufacture or sell the handset, then they moved out? So that was like a market development. And then also that initial free trial, which also went up for 6 months and for 100 million customers. So this brings like a set of privileged users who become used to Jio's technology, Jio's value proposition, who become like a silent supporters for Jio. So it basically makes the Jio's case much more interesting. So those three the key contribution, theoretical contribution, and also overall this is the contribution, like because in academic literature all the time we talk what is new in it. So in this case, the first contribution that we discuss the entry of a disruptive platform, because there are not many research which talks about disruptive platform. they primarily talk about like existing platform or regular platform which like enter in a market dominated by other platform. Like Microsoft is trying to dislodge Google, or Google is trying to dislodge Facebook, and all those things. So, and like attracting complementer. So that is also like generally literature say that you need to have a large customer base, you should have a brand value and your reputation of the platform, and you can give signals like use raise expectation about the platform by using social media, pre-launch the services. So all these method you can use to attract complementer, to position yourself that you are the future leader, or otherwise you have to first get large number of customers whom you can directly serve without depending on the complementer, and then show those customer base to get more complementer. But here we found that they did a different thing to basically attract complementer. They use market development as an effective strategy. So because and this strategy may be very important when the complementer need to invest to moving to a new technology like 2.5G or to 4G. A substantial new investment is there, which is a risky activity for a new complementer. So then also we have a platform leader. Generally in a platform, we have a platform leader and the complementer. So and the literature says that platform leaders should focus on the core part of the platform and leave the innovative application to the complementer. Or it says that sometimes platform leader can work as complementer if nobody else is ready to deliver that thing. So, or to retain control of the important part of the platform, like there is some application or some service which is very critical, which you do not want to give it to external parties. So that can be also here. So here we see that they are doing basically actively, like the platform leader first developed the smartphone, later they moved out. But because they saw that there are a large number of players are available, but the 4G feature phone Jio still manufacture because they found that there are not many people there. So what we say that there is a dynamism, so they take active decision making, which part of the complement they should go, which part of the complement they should move out, which part they completely leave for the customer, which part they should not leave for the customer. Yeah, and we just talked about role of complementer, because literature says that complementer primarily either innovation development or innovation commercializations. So either their source of innovation, or maybe the platform, those complementer has a good customer base. So platform leader can use their connection with the customer to sell those innovation. But here we saw that to basically the overcome negativity associated with that being disruptive, the platform leader associates with large complementer like Facebook, Google, Qualcomm, to gain legitimacy, respectability, and aura, and maybe resources that it can use later on. So there was no immediate innovation development that has happened by this relationship, but it was used more as a force multiplier. So it giving a signal to the market, to the complementer, to the others, actually. So it has more like an intangible benefit, which is a type of network benefit, but not by number of customer or by number of product application development, but you can say more respect and other things. Then also we saw the framing. We saw that how an entrant player, because a new entrant is handicapped. So because that person is new to the system and the incumbents are well established, well entrenched. So how can he have a framing war with the incumbent? So Jio showed that you can first create a set of people who will be has benefited from your innovation, and they should be happy to support you, though maybe silently or some other way. But you basically create that stakeholder who are a base of supporters. Now you have that set of base of supporters, which is like 100 million customer who like Jio's service. So it's very difficult to ignore Jio as a like a fridge player or somebody who is disrupting the market and all those things. And also, we generally see that advanced technologies are used either for technical benefit or business benefit. But here we saw that you can use the advanced technology for creating effective frame, because Jio's framing was that technology, we are having advanced technology, will empower India, will make digital India and all those things. So technology can be a source of framing and of public interest. Other than technology always gives business benefit and other benefit that we know, but how can you use technology to create a positive framing in your favor? So that was also one of the contributions. So I think I'll stop here, and if there is anything, so that's.
Yeah, questions, please, from the audience. Yeah, any questions? Okay, so till till the scholars are actually thinking of a couple of questions. Professor Sandeep, like majority of the participants in the audience, they are FPM and EFPM scholars. For their benefit, it'll be great if you could just give a detail on your on your research methodology. Like you talked about some new methodology, the zoya method. Zoya method, which you say is very very uh, uh, similar
Actually,
to the grounded theory.
Yeah, but grounded theory is more of a concept actually.
Okay.
And using pure grounded theory is quite difficult. And many times you go to editors and others, so they will say that, okay, how did you get that? How did you do that? So Jaya method is basically gives a step-by-step approach to how do you from your qualitative data reach to that outcome. So that's the thing, and there is a very famous paper actually. I think I will be able to share that. So I can share that paper. So it was seeking qualitative rigor in inductive research. And it's come in organizational research method, January 2013. Okay. So it basically talks the same thing what grounded theory says. Like first you have the open coding. So open coding you get from the data and you give a level which is close to the data actually. And then you make a next level is like a axial coding. You bring the theoretical inside them, and then you further group it. So that is called data structure, and then you create some process model to show how does it work.
Okay. Okay.
But it's very popular. Jaya method is used many places, and it's when we say that we use Jaya method, it basically shows that there is some amount of structured approach has been used, which is the main limitation of qualitative research. So that it is primarily like a craftsman and others. So Jaya method basically try to avoid that.
Okay. 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 Any questions from the audience? Okay, so just
so I think this is the paper I can say, the seeking qualitative rigor in inductive research. So this is a very famous paper, and he is used in his multiple paper also. Like he has a another famous one, ASQ. So this method, I think we should, the scholar can explore that.
Right.
Its concept is same as grounded theory,
As
but
grounded theory.
but it gives the techniques, we can say.
Okay. Great.
Ma'am, good evening. Saurabh Upadhyay from
Yeah. Good
2019
evening,
batch.
Saurabh. Yeah.
So just one question with respect to the qualitative research and the publication bit of it, because I myself have used Joya et al. In almost 3 papers, and the only common review that has come across is the with respect to the reliability of the qualitative part. So what I had to do is I had to collaborate with 2 independent coders, and then intercoder reliability was calculated and kappa was calculated. So sir, if you could just like guide us, how did you get through the review process and probably the reliability of a
But intercoder reliability kappa we do not generally do for qualitative study so much. It was done for like meta-analysis and other things we do. But the qualitative research, the primary contribution would be your something new, because qualitative research are not used for um, validating the existing knowledge. So if you just like, if you see in this Jio, I bring something new, like they are using market development, or they are doing framing, or they are doing something. So like my paper was also many times they told that okay, it's interesting to read, but what is the contribution that you have? So that's why you have to think about the theories and other areas like organization. You are from which area, if I know?
sir OB area, sir?
OB area, like maybe theories in IT area,
Right,
theories
sir.
in strategy area, theories in communication, and mix it with your area and bring
Right.
interesting insight. So kappa and other things may not be required, but the insight is more important. So something interesting has to come, because purpose is to develop new knowledge, not to just explain existing knowledge. So my again and again, that's why I saw that my theoretical contribution, that idea is not to that what people already know about platform. If I just say that, it will never get published.
Mhm.
But how can you say something new? So you bring something from other areas, and like framing and others which are not used in platform, or and just things. So going deeper and deeper with your data, and what we call serendipity, sometimes suddenly get some very useful insight,
Yes,
and
sir.
highlighting that. So is your paper got published now, that one?
It's under the second round of review in, 2 of the papers are in 2A categories. So second
Okay.
round of review. So
Yeah, I think quality takes time, but
it's a mixed method, sir. I have used qualitative and then sequential fuzzy D metal at the end.
okay.
So mixed reviews have come. A couple of reviewers are well versed with the qualitative bit, and the rest are well versed with the MCDM techniques. But then this was a very common question, that how do you establish the reliability of the findings from a qualitative research? So
Yeah, because I think you are mixed with quantitative. That's why the questions are coming. If it is a pure qualitative, generally we do not give kappa and other things in pure qualitative.
right.
But like when you do meta-analysis, there also you do coding, that this document is this
Mhm.
type, this document is that type. There we saw if there are two coder, what is the intercoder reliability.
Right, sir. Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions? Okay, Professor Sandip, just
Yeah.
one or two questions from my side. Just curious to know, when you studied this platform ecosystem, did you also study, were customers also part of this platform ecosystem? You have talked a lot about complementers. Uh, the customers, did you study as part of this ecosystem?
Yeah, customers are part of the ecosystem, but that was not focus of this research.
Okay.
But we bring the customer as like when you told the framing. So the customers are becoming actually you can say the supporter of the Jio when they got the free trial for 6 months and when they enjoy the Jio service. But customers are generally part of the ecosystem, but researchers focus a lot on complementer part. But how do you bring a good complementer? How do you nurture them? And how do you ensure that you stick with they stick with you? Because like from one platform they can go to another platform, or they can do multi-homing and all those things. And if you control them too much, then there will be no innovation. And if you leave them, then they will hijack the platform. So all those things. And there can be competition within the complementers. So if two complementers similar product or something.
And how diverse, what was the diversity level of these various partners who or complementers who were part of this ecosystem?
Logically, it should be diverse because if you have complementer who brings similar capability, then very soon there will be competition among themselves, and there will be crowding, and some people will move out. So logically, you should not have too many complementers who bring the same capabilities. Otherwise, there will be inter-complementar competition, and maybe the good people will move out, and all those things will happen.
Right, right. The purpose of qualitative research is actually never generalization, right? With respect to population. But do you feel so that, if this study got extended to some other industry, uh,
Huh,
uh,
so in the paper also that comment came. So what we responded actually. Uh, so I think we responded that this can be these findings can be seen in other countries like India, maybe developed countries, because this is a common trend that telecom operators are becoming platform oriented, like Telefonica and others in Europe and others. So that way we can see in other industry, other countries, or maybe it is not only the mobile services, but like payment and many other services are moving towards platform centric provider. So we can also basically extend this to other industry within the context of India also. And also, like if you see that Jio was a very disruptive player, but there was a different level of disruption. Like there is one case study like Cisco. They disrupted a little bit, but then they do not completely want to destabilize the system. So they want to be part of the system. So they only destabilize as long as they are not part of the system. So once they become part of the system, they stop destabilizing or become disruptive. So level of disruption also we can study and all those things.
Okay, that's interesting, very interesting. In fact, very interesting research, that you have done and you have shared with us, and very interesting insights. So if there are no more questions, then should I take the decision to end the session? I think so. Like, there are no more questions. So
Anyway, they can reach me if they want or something.
yeah, sure. So if anyone has any queries, I will give your contact details to the scholars. So thank you, Professor Sandip, for agreeing to be part of our Wisdom Cafe and for sharing such an interesting study that you have done. So good day to you.
Thank you.